And I want to ask it very deliberately, and I want you to answer it just as deliberately. Do you think you have the right to live safely? And if you do, does everybody else in your community hold that same right? So what I want to do for the next 15 minutes is just, if it's okay with you, really disrupt your thinking around how we should act to create a safe and responsive community. In Hindi, the word for responsive literally means to behave as the horse in a horse and rider picture. And what that means is it literally means the horse has no thinking of its own. The horse literally behaves and responds to how the rider dictates that it should do. So let me ask you this. If you were living in a community where women were sexually and physically unsafe, could you be the horse? Because every one of us, I live in a first world country called Australia. One woman every single day of every single year is killed from domestic violence. And I'm heartbroken by that statistic till I come to India. We cannot change anything if we are not willing to get involved. I was raised in a home where I was born into domestic violence. My parents were already in domestic violence when I was born. My dad is a schizophrenic with 5 personalities. One of them was a pedophile. So by the time I was 7 years of age, I had no understanding of my worth, of my value, or my belonging. The only 3 core values you're born with. When you are born onto this planet, you have 3 core values only. To belong, to have value, and to have worth. Every other core value has been constructed by the society you were raised in. And so by the time I was 12, my dad left us. He did so much violence, it kind of got to the point where he left. But this was in the 60s. And can I tell you, there was no one to help. People closed their doors when Dad started, and they opened them again when Dad stopped. Nobody said or did anything. I went to school every day without food. We were so poor. And one year, I had a male teacher who noticed that I was not eating lunch and asked me why not. And I explained that we didn't have any food and Mum didn't get up to make lunch. I was 9 at the time. So he said that the school had a special project where every year one person could be chosen to gather up all the lunches that had been ordered from all the other children, and they could take them to the office and hand them in. And I was given that job for a year. And it came with payment of 1 pie, which I ate half of and then gave to my sister. And that was what the school did. 2 years ago, I launched a book, and I launched it in New Zealand, and I went back to that school to make a donation to the program to discover that teacher had paid for my lunch every day that year. So if you want to respond like a horse does to the rider, you can do it in 3 very easy steps, and you can transform your society simply by understanding that the kid that has no lunch needs a pie board. By understanding the woman next door who's not smiling like you are, who's not happy like you are, who's just started to go through a divorce, who's wearing long sleeves in the middle of summer, has a reason. And if you were to stop for just a moment and become her horse, you know, that teacher changed my life. He fed me for a year. Can you imagine what it's like to go hungry and try and learn? That was the year I started getting A's. That was the year I found out I was intelligent. And he never said a word. Safe and responsive communities are created by legacy. And governments are turned when we understand legacy. I'm going home from this conference to meet with the Australian government, who want me to run a course, first in my state and then Australia-wide, because they have realised there's a woman in that country that's free of DV and sexual abuse. and they have a problem. But because I just chose to become the horse to other people's riders. Nobody wants to have the story I have, and most of you in this room, I have the pleasure of knowing over half this room by name. Some of them have stories too, and I know with every ounce of them, they wear them beautifully, they've worked through them, and I wish not one of them had them. There are children in our schools that are hungry. There are women in our homes that are getting hurt. There are people in our communities. I was asked to speak at True Universities just recently, and I spoke on how to integrate LGBT kids into school and how to make it safe for them to disclose. Do you know what age most LGBT children disclose? They do it in the 4th semester of their final year. Do you not think for 1 minute they're just testing to see if it's going to be okay to be an adult? And do you know what the standard protocol in my country is? They're referred to a website. They're not hugged, they're not loved. We're all born with only 3 core values: belonging, value, and worth. The rest are constructed. The rest are constructed. And I spoke and I talked about how to integrate, and I talked about understanding, and this is a big thing. We live in a country, we live in a world that says equality is important. But I'm done with equality. Because you know what? I need equity. I need the people that are well to understand they're well and become the doctors and the horses to those that are not. I don't want to share what they need. I don't want to share the resources and the help while they're getting healed. Equity is when we understand everybody has a need and we meet that need accordingly. So for me, I don't need you to run up after this meeting and love on me and kiss me and thank me, and I know you all want to, because you're women of heart. But what I do need you to do is go home and understand that there is a rider in your street that is horseless. There are riders under the age of 8 in your schools that are horseless. And if you can just become the horse, just buy that extra coffee, just ask that question. I was found drinking at work at 18 years of age, and my boss sent me to a psychologist. And I had to go to keep my job, and I needed the job because my mum had had another breakdown. She'd been prostituting, and it didn't work out for her, so she had a breakdown and went to bed for 6 months. So I was supporting our family. So the psychologist asked me, "Tracy, tell me your story." And so I did. And I'll never forget at the end of it, he said to me, you cannot get over that. You can't contribute to society. By the time you're 30 years of age, you will be medicated and in a corner. And it was one of the biggest gifts I've ever been given, because I walked out of that room and decided to prove him wrong. And you know what I discovered? I can do whatever the hell I want. And I went on a journey and I discovered some really strong keys to healing. And I've discovered them from all people like you, normal people that didn't have any problems. Then I discovered everybody had a story. And so basically what I did was I put it in a book, and I came here last year, and since then I have been travelling the world and teaching it, because I tell you now, DV and sexual abuse is on notice. As long as I'm standing on this planet, it is going down in tolerance, down in numbers, because I will be that horse to every rider. Thanks for listening.